Meet Rose Odette, tech trailblazer, EMR pioneer, and $100 million founder. Her book, Charge Like a Bull, unveils 7 strategies to scale without investors. Crush your limits, dominate emerging markets, forge unstoppable alliances. Ready to break through? Get your copy on Amazon now.
Hi, everyone. This is Rose Odette with the Michigan Innovation Podcast. And today's episode is all about Niki Schultz. How are you doing today?
I'm so good. Thank you.
Good. I'm so excited to have Niki on. I've been wanting. It's finally the day. I've been looking forward to this for a very long time. And Niki is with the Alliance for Economic Success here in Cadillac, and a very, very key person and organization to the success of Cadillac, especially in economic times like these. We are very excited to hear about that. But before we go there, we're going to learn a little bit more about Niki as a person, as we always do. We're people first, and I want to know what makes Niki tick. So hit it, Niki.
All right. So I have been in Cadillac for 20 years. I was born and raised downstate. And when my first kiddo was born 20 years ago, we moved up here to be near my now ex-husband's family. And when we got divorced, I just stayed here because I absolutely love Cadillac. So I have 3 children. My youngest is actually graduating this year.
Oh, congratulations.
So today was her last day of school.
Oh, no tears.
No,
She's probably, yay.
we're both ready.
Great.
We are both ready.
That is such a milestone. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yes, we made it through. So my 2 boys are, I've had a graduate, excuse me, the last 3 years.
Oh, wow.
So I have a 20-year-old, 19-year-old, and a 17-year-old. And I'm ready for this.
That is a lot of boom. Wow.
Yes. So I say that everything that I do is for my children.
Oh, me too.
So whenever especially in my job, my biggest thing is that I want my kids to come back to Cadillac. I want to create an environment in which they can find a house, be able to afford a house, be able to find a job that suits them, be able to find childcare when they have children. I mean, I would like to be able to retire and do that myself. But realistically, I want them to go out, explore, adventure, and then come back to Cadillac. And I want to be able to have all of those things in place for them.
Wow, that is so unusual for someone to have such a crystal clear vision of what they want. And when you have a super clear vision and your goal, you usually attain it. So good for you.
I'm hoping.
It's so clear. I love that.
Yes, my middle kid.
And how aligned.
Yes.
I mean, it's totally aligned with your job.
It is.
That's very rare
what
too.
drives me.
Oh my gosh, that's wow. What about your middle guy?
He hates the cold.
Okay.
So that is my biggest fear, is that he's going to flee for warmer climates. But then I'll be able to visit him, so it's okay.
There's good with the bad, but
yes.
Those with the weather and I lived in Florida for a long time, and it was just too hot. And I also lived in Tucson. So I lived in Tucson for 5 years, Florida for 10, and this free air conditioning that we have
yes, it is
a very, very nice perk.
Yes.
Wonderful. Well, that's a beautiful, beautiful alignment. Now let's talk about the origin of, a lot of the people out in the podcast world may not know what the Alliance for Economic Success is. And so, Niki, will you talk to us a little bit about how did it get started and its origin story?
Sure. Yes, I will do my best.
Okay.
So the Alliance for Economic Success was first developed in Missaukee County. So it was their economic development organization. So a lot of times you'll hear it referred to as an EDO.
Okay.
So every county is served by an EDO. In the state of Michigan, and Missaukee created Alliance for Economic Success a handful of years ago. I'm not totally sure on how many, maybe 10 years ago. They had a director, they were doing their thing, and then the Chamber of Commerce decided that they actually wanted to take over that economic development arm. So their economic development organization got merged in with their Chamber of Commerce.
in Manistee?
In Manistee.
Okay.
And so the AES was kind of floating. And at the time, Wexford and Missaukee counties did not have a specific economic development organization.
Okay.
So some key players at the time came together and said, hey, let's bring AES over to Cadillac. And so they did. When it first started, it was a different structure. I'm not totally sure what all of the structure was. But over the last couple of years, we have partnered with MSU Extension to provide some of the partnership and collaboration with, so I am the director of the Alliance for Economic Success, but I'm also an MSU Extension educator. So I have kind of a dual role. I have been in this role for almost 2 years now, and I absolutely love it.
Wonderful. Well, let me ask you, do you do any teaching?
Everything that I do is supposed to have an education component to it so that I can report back to MSU Extension.
Wow. Well, and that's a perfect segue into my next question, because I know you have done early childhood
Yes.
education, and that's your background, and we never grow up. So even if it's grown-ups that you're working with,
Yeah,
I'm
right.
sure that childhood education skill is still in the works. So give us a little bit of how you're integrating these experiences all into the economic development strategies going forward.
So I have learned that most people in an economic development role actually did not go to school for economic development.
Right.
And so I am one of many. My bachelor's degree, well, I'm one of few in the fact that my bachelor's degree is in early childhood education. I taught preschool for 5 years, and then I did grant administration with the Great Start Collaborative for 12 years.
Wow.
So that was my background. That was my passion. That was what I thought that I was going to be doing forever. And then this role became available, and I was very close with a couple of the people on the search committee, and they said, hey, why don't you consider it? And I said, I know nothing about economic development, like nothing. They assured me I knew more than I thought, which I did. So a lot of all of the connections that I made while working with Great Start Collaborative helped me in this role today. I met so many key players during that time that it was really a natural fit for me to move into this role. I mean, I can't say enough about the importance of relationships.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm sure you know that.
Yeah, that's what community is.
Yep.
It's we're individuals, then we're in a family, then we're in our community. And that's all key to, relationships, whether they're personal or work or community oriented. Yeah, it's very cool. And you have another background that popped up in my head right away, is that you also owned a small business.
Yes.
So talk about economic development, understanding what it's like for businesses. So you have not only that education, the community, understanding who's who, but also you've been in the trenches.
Yes. So my husband and I did own Toy Town in downtown Cadillac for 4 years. When we purchased it, we had no idea what we were doing at all.
Who does?
Right?
That's the thing about jumping into business is that you have to jump, because there's so many moving parts, and you did it.
We did it. Yes. I will forever be thankful for my husband saying yes. It took a couple of tries for me to, get him to say yes, but he did. And his background is finance.
Okay.
So that was incredibly important to our success in that, because he was running all of the behind the scenes stuff that no one really knew about. I got to be in front of the house doing all of the fun things, which I absolutely love.
Yeah.
But at the time, we didn't know the key players. We didn't know about the Small Business Development Association. We really didn't have a whole big understanding of the Chamber of Commerce. We didn't have the connections. And so it was a struggle for us And not that, I mean, through nobody's fault, right? Like we just didn't know what we didn't know.
Right, right.
So I think a lot of the driving force for me is that I want to be able to make sure that the small businesses in our area do have the key resources, because I know how much of a struggle it is
Well,
without it.
it is, and that's really the reason for the podcast is to help people get the word out. And so we're going to put all of these nuggets and information in the show notes of this podcast. Whether you're watching it on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or YouTube, you'll be able to connect with the resources that we're going to run through during the podcast. And so let's get to it. So let's talk about the challenges that are facing Wexford County and how you're addressing them.
Oh, I mean, yes, let's do that.
It sounds great.
Yes. So when most people think about like traditional economic development, we're talking about business attraction, business retention, like workforce development, which is all part of what I get to do on a weekly basis. But there are some really key pieces that are more of the social economic development, which is housing and childcare, pieces like that, that I really get to devote a lot of time to. So housing is one of the key issues that we are attempting to tackle in a variety of different ways.
Yeah, those are challenges. No man, I spend a lot of time in Traverse City, and a lot of people that watch the podcast and listen are from Northern Michigan, and we're having the housing issue all over, whether you're in Traverse City, Petoskey, Cadillac, Manistee, there's always this housing challenge as well as childcare challenge. And so that is a challenge. It's really pervasive across our whole region. And so it, so those are facing everyone. I can see that.
Yes. Yep.
So, can you share with us more recent advocacy things happening around those
Yes, absolutely.
challenges? Like what's
So
going on? What are we going to do about it?
when I say I'm a one-woman show. So I don't do anything alone. I have the best partners in the world that I get to call on, to rely on, and to partner with. So for housing specifically, we have a housing advocacy committee. We meet like bi-monthly, and it was really just put out there for anybody who is interested in the topic of housing, which is a lot of people.
Mm.
So we found that there are things happening, and housing takes time.
Mm.
I never knew that. Like 3 years ago, I was the one behind saying, why don't we have housing? I don't understand. This doesn't make sense. Just build the dang houses, right?
Right.
And so the more I got into it, like it's just so time consuming. I mean, between zoning and codes and just finding the right developer, because it's expensive, you know. So our housing advocacy group meets bi-monthly, and we use that time to really educate the group about what's happening, what developments are taking place. And then we also use that as an opportunity to like go before the planning commission if we need support. We get to go before the planning commission and support plans, because a lot of times we need more loud, positive supporters. The people that are against things come out in masses, we have learned. And so if we don't have more positive than negative, it's a lot easier to not let things pass, right?
Right.
So our advocacy committee is really important. I have learned that we have a lot of people doing a lot of great things that need to be elevated, because there's just stuff going on behind the scenes that no one knows about.
Well, let's talk about that. So let's dig under the covers and peel this onion back. Can you share with us anything that has come to fruition, or that might be something you could share with us?
So specifically, I have conversations very often. Developers will call me, and people who are very excited about the idea of creating housing. So I will spend time with them, talking them through, like, do you have an investor? Do you have the land? Do you have And most of them don't. They are passionate and they want to help. That's what I've really learned, is that there are so many people that want to contribute to this. It's just when it comes down to it, there are processes that.
So let's break it down.
Okay.
So the key things required to help the housing problem is that you need land.
Absolutely.
And we do have a
Yes.
lot of land in this area.
We do.
And so an investor would need to, well, let's just take, for example, an apartment complex.
Yep.
Let's say I want to create an apartment complex with maybe 100 units.
Sure.
And so 100 units. And so I need to first secure the land, and then I need to work on the zoning.
Yes.
Okay, so then I need the zoning. I would need utilities.
Yep. So the infrastructure is super important.
Right.
Here in northern Michigan, there is a lot of land, but a lot of it is not connected to any kind of infrastructure.
Right.
So that, I mean, if it's within the city or close by, like one of the closer townships, it's a little bit easier. But that infrastructure is incredibly expensive. And so someone has to be willing and able to pay for all of that.
So within the budget or the pro forma of the project would be included in that, the infrastructure, whether it's, and let's go break that down, because I like to give people the real facts. So water, electricity, internet, sewer, cable.
Yeah.
All of those
All of
things.
those things.
Okay, so, and that's there's specialties in all of those. So let's say I've got the land, I've got the budget for the infrastructure. I need an architect.
Yep.
And then I need to pull it all together. But I also need to be keeping the city and the stakeholders in our community apprised to my project.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Super important.
Okay, so I'm keeping who are the people that I need to keep apprised of my project? Who would you say?
It would depend on where, like if you're in the city of Cadillac, it would be, I'm trying to, like, because we have planning commissions.
Right, so it'd be the city.
It would be the city, and then like.
And then within the city, there's different departments within the
It
city?
depends on, yes and no. We'll just go with city to make it a little bit easier for that.
Right.
But then like you have to have a lawyer, because everything.
An attorney, right? So a representation.
Yeah, you have to have that. And then just for good measure, like being transparent about what is happening, because in the day of social media, as soon as someone hears something that may or may not be true, that can get a little bit sticky.
So you might need a PR.
You might.
You might need a public relations, consultant that is really being transparent.
Yep.
I think what people really want is transparency.
Yes.
And as soon as things start like brewing and happening, and this is all positive, trying to find people homes.
Yep.
And just keeping but that's a good point. So we need an attorney, we need probably a public relations consultant, or definitely keep our eye on the PR.
Yep.
Okay, well, and so wrapping that all up, when do I start? When do you want someone to call you? Probably, when do you want to be made aware of these kind of
Sure. So a lot of the
projects?
conversations happen before any of that it's lovely if it happens before any of that takes place, because there are grants available. And
Okay,
there's a lot of incentives that are available for developers. So working with MISHDA, which is the Michigan State Housing Development Authority.
so it's MSHDA?
Yes. So
Okay.
MISHDA has some opportunities for developers right now. There's just a whole plethora of different opportunities for incentives and grants that can help get a project off the ground. So that's important, but a lot of them, you have to contact them before the shovel hits the dirt.
Sure. Isn't this amazing? This is so good. So that's housing. What do you do regarding childcare?
So childcare is, like I said, near and dear to my heart. And one of the biggest, what I could go on and on about this, is that our childcare providers are not paid enough, right? That is first and foremost the problem. And it's really hard to tackle that because our families can't pay more than what they're already paying. And so the state really has to step in to be able to provide some more support with that.
And are they?
Um, they have over the last couple of years. The needle has moved in that. For instance, our GSRP, which is our Great Start Readiness Program, which is for 4-year-olds, the governor has come out and said free pre-K, free 4-year-old preschool for anybody. And in our area, we do a really good job of providing that GSRP programming. All of the districts, local districts provide that. But we know that that's just 1 year.
Mhm.
And the most expensive childcare is for infants.
Right.
As soon as you find out that you are pregnant, you have to get on a waiting list because most wait lists in our area are 12 months. And so by the time you get on, like, it's wild.
Right.
It
You're
is wild.
between a rock and a hard place.
Yes.
You don't.
No. So if you
there's-
don't have
It's a
family,
9-month. Last time I checked, it took 9 months to make a baby.
yes, yes, yes. So if you find out, then you have 9 months. Hopefully you get a good, nice little maternity leave, and then you could jump right in
Right.
to a provider. Our home providers are dropping off.
Mm.
They're aging out. And there's not a whole lot. We do have some. We work with the Great Start to Quality
Mhm.
Resource Center. Again, every county in the state of Michigan is served by a Great Start to Quality Resource Center,
Mhm.
which are consultants who work directly with childcare providers,
Mhm.
and they make sure that everything is quality, which
Nice.
is super.
Yeah, that's important.
Yes.
So that's the number one, right?
Yes, yes. So then we also have a regional coalition that is a 10-county region through Networks Northwest up in Traverse City. They convene a regional coalition to talk about the childcare issue and to create a plan for moving forward.
Awesome. Very
Yes.
good. Wonderful. And that is huge. Thank you so much. I can feel it. Do you feel the passion that Nikki has? I do. Like what's going on? It's just like the energy in the room just went up
Yes.
about 20
yes.
degrees because this is
Yeah.
her why, obviously. So economic development also means new business, right?
Yes.
And so does that fit into the support you give to small business? In this,
So-
what initiatives do you have for small businesses?
So, like I said before, like I don't provide a whole lot of the programming, but I get to direct them to what is already taking place.
Yeah.
So, 20 Fathoms out of
Mhm.
Traverse City is a great support, a lot for technology support. Venture North out of Traverse City also provides a lot of opportunities for people looking to get into small business
Mhm.
for loans and programming such as
Mhm.
that. So if someone comes to me, I've had a couple of people come to me and say, hey, I have this idea, but I don't have financing. Then I get to direct them to
Mhm.
Venture North.
Mhm.
I had a downtown business, we were talking, and they really needed support with technology.
Mhm.
So I was able to direct them to 20 Fathoms. They applied for a grant. They were given this $4,500 grant for upgraded technology.
Wow.
So there are supports
So
available.
that was talk about tactics. $4,500, and that's not a loan, right?
Nope, that's
That's
fully grant.
free money.
Yes, and that
For-
grant cycle is open again.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if you have a small business and you need some seed money for a project, and I know that it's really up to your business plan what you need. So that's 20 Fathoms. Let's talk a little bit about Venture North. And let's say, and I know you don't work for
Yes.
them, but you refer people to
do.
them. And so is that through the Small Business Administration? Do
So
they have
they are a s-
funding from them or?
I'm not, they are a CDFI.
Right.
Um,
And that's a government organization, right?
I
Is it-
believe
Yeah,
so,
they
yes.
they have they allow for people with not a lot of I believe if you are brand new in business, you may pay a little bit more in interest because a little teeny bit because you're higher risk,
Probably, yeah.
but they do give you funding.
Yes.
They not ever, that's not guaranteed. but-
Sure, yeah, but so they have a business, Annie Olds, she's lovely, I love her, love her. I don't know what her title is, but she will meet with a couple, and she will help walk them through their business plan and get them from like just conception to possibly a loan to get it all started.
Awesome.
Yes,
So making dreams happen.
yes,
That's really
that's
cool.
what they're doing.
I love that. It is the American dream. Back in, my parents owned a pet shop here in Cadillac called Cozy Kennels. They started it in the 70s and they ran it for 25 years until my mother had a heart attack and had to retire. But they started with a very small business loan out of, back in the day, called Oak Kent Bank.
Oh,
And
God, yes.
yeah, that was a long time
Yes.
ago. And but without that funding, it wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
So it does really
Yep,
make
it
dreams
does.
come true. So could you talk a little, we're going to switch gears about this Bridget Close fellowship?
Oh, yes.
What is that? I've heard about it. I'm just confused. What is the Bridget
So
M?
Burgett, I
Oh,
believe.
Burgett.
Yes,
So
I'm
I
not, I'm not a
pronounce-
whole, I'm not
Yeah,
totally
it
sure.
is.
Yes.
I dyslexic
Yep,
up those
yep.
words. So Burgett.
Yes.
I've never heard that name, but
Yep.
Burgett M. Close
Yes, I'm not sure.
Fellowship.
Yes. So she was the first woman economic developer, I believe, down in Berrien County.
Okay.
And so she went on to make a difference. And so she created a fellowship, which was a grant, scholarship for women early in their economic development career, to provide them with support and professional development on their journey. So I applied last year, and I received this
Wow.
award, as I was in my first year of economic development. Made complete sense. And so I was able to use that money to go and participate in the basic economic development course, which is, so the basic course is something that all economic developers have to do. It's pretty much the same across, it's international. So I was actually able to go down to North Carolina and do that. It is offered here in the state of Michigan, in the lovely, lovely state of Michigan. But I just wanted to travel. So I got to go down to North Carolina and do that and learn from people, really countrywide, because there are
Wow.
so many people there, and just get kind of the basics of economic development.
Wonderful. I
Yes.
think that's so important. Education is key to freedom, in my opinion, and having that doesn't that give you a sense of competence too?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you feel like, okay, now I got this.
Yes.
Yeah, I got this. I can do this.
Yes,
So
I
that's
had no idea like I said, like I had no idea what I was getting
Right.
myself into. So I was very blessed by this
yeah,
fellowship.
that's very important. We
Yeah.
have to keep our young people trained and making them feel confident and competent in their roles. And so that is awesome. Thank you, Birgit
Yes,
Close
yes,
from
yes.
Berrien County.
And I will add to that. So I was just at an emerging leaders conference down in Lansing 2 weeks ago, through the Michigan Economic Developers Association, which is MEDA. And there was a session, our very closing session was a panel of women in economic development. So it was just learning from, and there were more women in the room than men. So like we aren't really the minority anymore, which is kind of cool.
That is very, very cool. Very, very good for you. And
Mhm.
I'm happy that you conferences, education, that is going to keep you extremely on top of your game, plus keep Cadillac in the forefront of the folks out there in Lansing.
Yes.
That networking that you probably
So
did down at that
important.
conference kept us present of mind in the Lansing ecosystem, where a lot of decisions are made, who's going to get what funding, and that. To thank you for being an advocate and going to
yes.
those conferences. So you have a dual role, I understand. You work for the Michigan State University Extension, and then how do you bridge the economic resources with the community needs for Michigan State? I am a Michigan State grad. I've used the Michigan State Extension with my kids. I know we brought in a Japanese exchange student through the Michigan State Extension back
Okay.
in Mary Bellows days.
Okay.
And that changed the whole trajectory of our lives, because then long story short, my daughter, Caitlin Koshiba, married a Japanese man
That's
years
fantastic.
down the lane. And it all got started with the Michigan State Extension having us host a Japanese
That's awesome.
exchange
I love
student.
that.
And then Caitlin went and stayed with them, and the rest is, and
It's a whole thing.
it's a whole thing. So tell us about that dual
Yes.
and the academic resources you're bringing.
Okay. Yes. So my office is located in the MSU Extension building, which is on Lake Street here in Cadillac. And so I am staff there.
Mhm.
MSU Extension is broken down into institutes. So I am in the CFE is the acronym, which Children and Family Education Institute, I believe. So I am in charge of I'm one of the educators in the office. So when I go out into the community, I am both an MSU Extension educator and the Alliance for Economic Success. And so one of the biggest things that I am part of with MSU Extension is the Connecting Entrepreneurial Communities Conference. It is a conference that is held once a year in different small towns every year. So last year we had the opportunity, Cadillac was the host. It was fantastic. It was amazing. We brought 125 people to downtown Cadillac. The breakout sessions were all held in all of the different small businesses downtown. We had keynote speakers. And so that was fabulous for Cadillac.
Awesome.
This year it is being held in Lapeer next week, actually. So it's a full 24 hours. So it starts at 12 on Thursday and goes until 12 on Friday. Keynote speakers, breakout sessions again. So that is in Lapeer. And so I'm part of that planning process, which is a big part of my role with MSU Extension.
Fantastic. Yeah, that was wonderful, bringing all of that action to
Yes.
Cadillac last year. I
Yes.
remember that, and I did sign up for that. That was amazing.
It was really fun.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
awesome. So what strategies does the Alliance for Economic Success employ to really attract and retain the talent for our region, particularly the younger
Sure.
folks? I
Yes.
mean, and that hits home to your
It
children
does.
as well. So
It does.
what are we doing to attract and keep those younger demographics in our community?
So I get to work with the Chamber of Commerce on this quite a bit, and our CTC, our ISD, like the local schools. And you were at our business expo, which is a huge part. Were you also at Market Then Rocket?
Yes.
Okay. So Market Then Rocket is actually an MSU extension 4-H aspect. Kate King is a fantastic facilitator of that. And if you don't know what that is, it's an opportunity for high schools, juniors and seniors to get their resumes reviewed, come get a mock interview, and just really learn from key leaders in our area about what to expect when you have your first interview.
Yeah, I had a pleasurely day that day. I got to interview the valedictorian of Lake City.
Oh, yes.
And that was awesome. I got to interview a Russian exchange student, and that was exciting. I mean, I'm sure it helped the kids, but it really, I'll never forget it.
Yes.
As a interviewer, it was so fun to just hear their experiences, to learn about their future aspirations. And that was awesome, the interview,
Yes.
the market. But then on the on the other event where we were at the expo.
Yes. So then we've been doing the Mock It Then Rock It for a handful of years, and we decided we needed an opportunity for our students to actually put it into practice, to be able to actually interact with some of the businesses, maybe in the field that they're going into, maybe just, not. So the Chamber of Commerce and AES partnered together to put together the Business Expo, which used to be a thing in Cadillac. Years ago. We brought it back, but we really had a key focus on our students. And so we had about 600 students come to the Wexford Civic Center for our Business Expo. We had 50 businesses, I believe, in attendance. And it was really an opportunity for them, like I said, to meet and see who's out there, see what kind of jobs are available, and just get exposure in the business world.
Yes, and one of the things that we did, I had a table at this event, and so did my daughter with her law firm, but my table was really dedicated to entrepreneurship. And so they not only had the opportunity to meet with businesses in town, when they came to my table, I asked them, what would you do if you started your own business? And I had them write down what their business idea was. And I got to tell you, there were at least, you said 600 kids. I had probably 200 little ideas on
Yeah.
my table, and ideas, a lot of dog grooming, kennels, arts, gaming, construction, childcare. There was
Yeah.
some childcare. And so not only do they have the ideas of going into work for get a W-2, but there were some folks that were thinking, hey, maybe I'll jump into the world of entrepreneurship too. So, Cadillac offers a lot. I just really loved that
It was
event.
a great day.
It was an
fun.
awesome
It
day.
was really fun.
It's nice to be around young people. It really
Yes.
keeps us alive.
Yep.
So how do you measure your success? I mean, do you have to report numbers like dashboards and, hey, I had so many cheeks on chairs, or like
So,
numbers and all that?
yes, do not tell my just supervisor. I'm really not good at that.
Who is?
Yeah, right. It's just not the fun part.
No,
right?
I know.
It's not. But through MSU Extension, we do have a platform that we report our programming, the amount served. But as far as like the AES side, I'm actually funded by investors.
Mm.
So if I'm not doing my job, then investors aren't going to pay into me, and then I won't have a job.
Well, that's a
So
incentive.
it is incentive for me to do my job, I would say. Yes.
Wonderful,
Yes.
wonderful. Yeah, we always have to, and most of the time for things like that, it's it's there to keep the lights on, if you
Yeah.
will, and it's nice to have that cadence of, reporting in, but it is a little dry, but we all have to do it.
Yeah.
And so looking ahead, what are your top priorities for, let's say, the next 1 to 5 years?
I would say getting housing projects off the ground.
Mm-hmm.
I know the city of Cadillac has, I think, 3 multi-unit housing developments that are, well, the Cadillac Lofts 2 is already, they broke ground.
That's exciting. That's a
that's-
beautiful addition to downtown.
Yep, that'll be, I believe, 48 units, which
Mhm.
is fantastic. We have the North Street Flats, which we've has been in the news. That one is supposed to be 40-ish as well. And then we have a couple of others that are close, but really more housing is key, right?
Mhm.
I can't work on attracting new businesses if we don't have a place to put their employees.
Right.
It's just really hard for me to do that,
Mhm.
So, so yes, housing is a big one. Advocacy for childcare is, like I said, the key piece that's missing is pay. Like, we have to increase childcare providers' pay, or we're just going to lose them completely. So advocating on a state level for increased pay for childcare providers is super important. And then just continued work with our small businesses to connect them with the resources that are available.
Wow, what a, it's a three-pronged approach. And
Yes.
that is so exciting. And we are so lucky to have Niki. And because of that, you guys, let's switch gears a little bit. This is the podcast that you may notice that we have a little different theme going on with the podcast today. I have talked a tiny bit about my book, Charge Like a Bull, which just came out on Amazon starting late April. So it's only been hot off the presses
that's so
about
exciting.
2 weeks. And so it's Charged Like a Bull. And so you notice we have our New York Wall Street bull here, and I've got my little bull here. He's really showing his strutting his stuff. And so what Charge Like a Bull does is for business. And what it is, it's the 7 strategies for relentless business growth. And those strategies are outlined in the book. And then if you want to really put it into practice, there's a game plan book that you can follow along. So they do stand alone. This gives you the practical way to use the 7 strategies. And these strategies are the strategies that I used when I grew my business from a bootstrap to over 100 million. Doing electronic medical records. And as my guest today, and as a gift to my guest today, I'm going to be giving Niki a copy
I'm
of
so
both
excited.
of these books.
Thank you so
And
much.
Thank you for joining
Yes,
me
of
today.
course.
It's awesome. And so before we end up the podcast, do you have any last words you'd like to share with our audience?
I do have to give a shout out to my husband.
All right.
I do. It is our 15-year anniversary tomorrow.
Oh, sweet. Wow. Today is the graduation or last day of
Yes.
school, and tomorrow's the 15th anniversary.
Yes.
Yay.
And he has been a key supporter for me. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing if he didn't have the full support for me.
Oh,
So,
what's his name?
Ryan.
Hey, Ryan.
Yes, so that's all.
Hey, yay. Shout out to Ryan, everyone. Well, thank you. And we're going to have Niki back, and she'll join us in about a year to
Okay.
see how things are
All right.
moving and shaking in Cadillac.
Sounds good.
All right. So with that, see you later. Bye.
Tired of crawling toward success? It's time to charge like a bull. Discover how Odette scaled her startup to $100 million with zero outside funding. From high-paying clients to emerging market dominance, get real strategies, real results. Ready to dominate your industry? Grab Charge Like a Bull today and start scaling.